first of all, song. Robin's a diurnal bird. Normal song would be a dawn chorus, big burst of song just after dawn, a little bit throughout the day, and then a dusk chorus, but the main peak of song is at dawn. Just to illustrate that, there's a little bit during the day, peak at dusk, nothing at all throughout the night, and then a peak again at sunset. And these are the results. The axis here shows the hours before sunrise in our categories, and this is sunrise itself. The unlit territories, the robins in these territories began to sing around sunrise, an hour before or an hour after, whereas the artificially lit birds began to sing up to 6 hours before the unlit birds. Striking result, isn't it, really? And highly significant as the statistical test shows here. Just another way of looking at this is to look at the song rate itself. On the bottom axis here we've got time before sunrise in categories of 100 minutes this time. This is the dusk chorus here, and they're both very similar there. Nothing for these few hours here, and then the artificially lit robins song rate increases quite high at dawn, similar to the unlit robins, it's still quite a peak. So just to clarify the results of this section, the artificially lit robins have an abnormal song routine. Lights do affect them in their song behaviour. Robins with lit territories begin to sing far earlier than those with unlit territories, and both artificially lit and unlit birds have similar time dusk choruses. Initially, both artificially lit birds and unlit birds have similar song rates. This is meaning that the song rate both not at the same time, like temporal sense, but in where one bird starts to sing and the other bird starts to sing maybe an hour later, that song rate is similar, whereas the hour after it's very high for artificially lit birds. And looking at another point of image results, you can see, remember the little bit where there's no song at all for a few hours over the night. One possible explanation for this is that the birds are using natural light changes in addition to artificial light in their decision making to begin singing. This shows the artificially lit birds here are beginning to sing at times not significantly different from astronomical twilight, where the sun is 18 degrees below the horizon. Or the unlit birds begin to sing at times not different to still twilight and sunrise. And this is just another way of looking at the data, but you can see there that there is a big difference. But it's obviously some kind of cue that's forcing the birds to sing other than the artificial lights. So the conclusions for the song section of work is that artificial lights cause robins to begin their day earlier, to sing longer and harder than their non-lit counterparts, and that light is an important cue in robins' day-to-day decision making. And perhaps it's the combination of natural and artificial light and the change of colour in the sky over the twilight period that causes robins to begin their song. Now on to foraging behaviours. Now birds usually begin to forage after they're able to see their environment. So it's after the dawn chorus and forage throughout the day to end before the dusk chorus. And this is because they need to be able to see their prey and see the predators to maximise their survival. You expect robins, therefore, to be able to utilise the light, the artificial light, and to forage throughout the night to get as much food as possible, because the food's there constantly. I made sure that there was an endless supply of mealworms for everyone. So here's the results. They're not quite as striking as the song results, but still, this is a significant relationship. The artificial lit bird began to forage significantly earlier than the unlit birds. And just to reiterate that, but yeah, robins with artificial lit territories begin to forage earlier. But it's only 18 minutes earlier than the unlit birds, and there's high variation between individuals. So you begin to wonder what's really going on in the little birds' heads. Unlit robins also begin to forage sooner after song than the artificial lit robins. So going back to the song again, the birds are beginning to sing and maintaining that song for longer. So the light's perhaps trapping them into singing and not letting them move on to the next behaviour that's programmed in their day-to-day life. There's no difference in dusk as well. Now these photos are just outtakes, if you will, from the study. So robin had just knocked its tray off the weigh scale. This is a pair of robins together on the feeder, and a shrew that decided to take a late night snack. The conclusions for this section are that artificial lights keep robins singing for longer, and therefore preventing them from foraging later on. And this has vast implications for their body mass, strategic body mass regulation. Robins and small birds have very high metabolic rates, and so that they need a lot of food to keep them going. And so if artificial light is stopping them from eating, then perhaps they're going to be struggling in the long run. I'll go on to that in the next section. There's different patterns of foraging as well, as shown by the delay in the timing of buzzing. And therefore lights are not giving any benefits at all in the birds foraging day to day, when the hypothesis to begin with was you would expect that birds would be able to utilise the light to get as much food as possible. The body mass regulation, as I just said, that robins are able to, at a high metabolic rate, but they're also able to strategically plan how much weight they put on during the day for the subsequent night. So if it's a cold night in the middle of winter, the bird is likely to eat a lot more food during that day so it can survive the following night. So a bird eats a lot during the day, puts on lots of fat, and the fat reserves deplete overnight as its energy is used up, and the robin then resumes foraging the day after to build up the fat reserves for the following night, on and on it goes. And singing is an energetically costly behaviour. It's actually active, it's awake, its metabolic rate is increased from when it's sleeping. So if a bird is active for longer, you'd expect it to lose a lot more mass overnight. And as the song results showed, that the bird is active for a lot longer under artificial lights. Now these are the results. I find this quite shocking. There's no difference in the mass loss. What's going on? The birds should have lost some mass because they're active for longer. Light does not seem to have any effect on body mass regulation. I tried to model this using a general linear model. And the outcomes of that was to find that the average overnight temperature and the initial dusk mass were the most important predictors of the body mass loss overnight. So the unlit birds do follow a normal pattern of mass loss, so they all lose mass. But the artificially lit birds must be using a different scheme or a different strategy, because they're not losing any different mass to the unlit birds. And nocturnally active birds often have a lower metabolic rate.